Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Tuesday, this Thanksgiving week, and I hope wherever you happen to be going for Thanksgiving, that you enjoy safe travels and a great time with your family and loved ones. Thanksgiving is a really nice holiday because it doesn't have the pressures of Christmas. All you have to do is cook and eat, and if you are a guest at somebody's house, you have one thing to do on Thanksgiving morning: get up in the morning, get dressed, and be on time. Okay, because that's a pet peeve of mine. But no matter. Enjoy. We are seeing this big snowstorm, the lake effect snowstorm that occurred through much of upstate New York, particularly in the eastern shores of Lake Ontario, where they got several feet, in some places getting up to 4 feet or more. That's beginning to wind down now as this storm system that's now up over New Brunswick province is moving slowly away, and that's actually going to bring some snow to Nova Scotia today and into New Brunswick. And now we have this next weather system approaching. One of the things that's happening here is that this first storm is taking longer to get out of the way, so it's leaving less room for this second weather system. So when it comes to the east, it actually comes through rather weak. And you can see that the low back through here and through Kansas, as we move it across, the pressure actually rises in that low center from 1,001 millibars to 1,010, and then 1,011 and 1,012, and eventually just kind of weakens as it moves toward just west of Chicago. The weak state of the low actually, from the standpoint of snow, it does allow for colder air to get wedged in longer in the Northeast. The other side of that equation is the fact that you're going to have a weaker area of precip. And I want to caution that, the NAM model depiction here in terms of what the radar is supposed to look like tends to overdo things. But I do think if there's a weak area of precip that comes out ahead of this Wednesday night into Thursday morning, that there could be a brief period of wet snow or sleet for areas in northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, Connecticut, southeastern New York, and I'm going to include New York City, Long Island, and maybe even down into central New Jersey with this. It's not a big deal. At most, some areas might wind up with a coating to an inch, and that's it. And then, there'll just be some passing showers after that. I really don't think this is going to produce very much, because when you look at the total precip on the NAM model through the daytime on Thursday, I mean, really, it doesn't produce very much at all, just a few hundredths to maybe a tenth of an inch. So this is not going to be any big deal. And then we're just going to wait for the next weather system for Friday night and for early Saturday, which starts to come into play. And I think we're going to have to jump to the GFS model to see that a bit better. But actually, you can see it here on the NAM. There is low pressure that's gradually developing here off the coast, and that is causing some rain to break out to the west, and that's going to get in here for Friday night into early Saturday. In fact, if we look, it actually is mostly rain. It should be snow up in northern Maine, northern Vermont, and New Hampshire, and some pockets in New York State and back through Michigan, and even some pockets in Ohio as colder air starts to come in behind it. I'm going to widen this out now because there are some things going on in the longer term that I think we want to pay attention to. And let's go back. I'm sorry, hit the wrong button. All right, so we got this model here, and this is the GFS. So, we're playing into Friday night, Saturday as low pressure develops off the southern New England coast. This might produce some snows for parts of central and northern New England for the weekend, but basically it's going to be turning colder and drier. Much of the country is going to be quiet over the weekend. But then we have another storm system coming out of the Central Plains and heading up to the Great Lakes with some rain and snow there for early next week. And then there's low pressure that's also in the southern part of that trough, and you can see it here. And this one, for the first part of next week, does bring some rain into drought areas from Virginia, North Carolina, southward into South Carolina, Georgia, where they've had a lot of fires here, and they're finally going to get maybe some rain here with this cold front. And if the model's correct in showing an intense low going up into the Great Lakes, And as each one of these systems moves by, it seems to turn progressively colder. And models want to key in around the 1st of December with low pressure coming out of the Gulf states and then moving up along the Appalachians and deepening. The European is very similar to this, only it has the low further west. So this is something we're going to have to watch for later next week to see how real it is. There's a gradual, let's call it a gradual change within the change of the overall weather pattern that we've seen. And I'm going to take you on a wider view here because there are a few developments in the longer term now that are going to be important in terms of the jet stream. And as we take a look, I'm just going to back this up just a little bit so you can see what's happening. So, you have this Pacific jet now that's really established itself pretty well. That's going to keep bringing in weather system after weather system. And this is important because over time, the pattern will tend to get more and more active as each one of these moves along. And at the same time, we're watching to see how Canada organizes itself with generally higher pressures and warmer air displacing the colder air further south. So this is continuing to occur. And as we go through time, you can see how active that southern jet gets. And actually, there are more changes that occur later in the period that, if this winds up looking like this, which I doubt that it will look like this exactly, but there is suggestion here in the longer term that we could get into more of what we would call a cross-polar flow, where you start to bring in colder air down from the polar regions. And this is going to be an important addition to this whole equation. You still have this very active Pacific jet that's displaced way to the south. So, the pattern is looking more and more wintry. One of the things we're going to look for is where does the mean upper air trough, in other words, where does the dip in the jet stream, the mean position, the average position set up, does it set up in the west? Is it going to set up in the east? Are we going to see it flipping back and forth? I want to know, that's going to depend on a lot of things here going forward. But it certainly is the idea that we're living in what I would say weather-wise was in interesting times. Now, let's show you just what these teleconnection indexes are telling us, because they are telling us that we've got the way the pattern is evolving. The North Atlantic oscillation remains strongly negative into the beginning of December when it trends toward neutral. The other thing is the Eastern Pacific oscillation stays positive and then goes negative after the 29th of November. So it's going to the combination here of where the NAO is going toward neutral and the EPO is going negative. That's that period where we're seeing the models focusing on storm development, because when you're seeing the change that's in the atmosphere, that's telling you that something's happening someplace. So you have the NAO going to neutral from strongly negative, so that's the change going on there. And you have the EPO at the same time going from positive to negative. A negative EPO tends to favor colder, more polar air coming into North America. So the time frame for some kind of storm development would be, say from November 29th, 30th to December 1st and 2nd, and that's what the models are keying on. Let's look at Tropical Storm Otto, which is about to become a hurricane. Top winds are 70 miles an hour. It is way to the south. I mean, it's really deep down in the southern Caribbean at around 11 degrees north, and it's going to be moving west on the border of Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and then eventually emerge out into the Pacific as a remnant low. But this could certainly strengthen into a hurricane. It's almost there, and it looks like, based on the satellite presentation, that it will be a hurricane shortly, and it's going to track on to the west. So this is not going to impact any of the islands to the north. It's not going to impact Mexico in any way. So this is just trapped down way down to the south in the Caribbean. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. In the meantime, just take a look at the current surface map, because we have this mess here in the eastern states with very strong gusty winds continuing and temperatures in the chilly 30s and 40s, and still a little bit of lake effect snow going on in upstate New York. Check out your ski resorts, by the way, because they're doing pretty well. with the snows that have fallen here over the last several days. So have a great day. We'll post some more. Probably have another video post up on Wednesday. And don't forget to check out the websites, meteorologistjoechaffee.com, weatherlongisland.com, and nycweathernow.com.